Jerusalem. The name itself feels ancient, heavy with the weight of prayers and prophecies spoken over thousands of years. It is a city of gold and light, a place where the veil between heaven and earth feels thin. To some, it is Yerushalayim, the city of peace. To others, it is Al-Quds, the Holy One. For billions of people around the world, this city is not just a location on a map, it is the center of their spiritual universe, a place where their history was written and their faith was forged. It is a city that belongs to everyone and to no one, a shared inheritance that has been the source of both profound unity and heartbreaking conflict. Its story is the story of humanity's search for the divine. The fame of Jerusalem comes from its unique position at the heart of the three great Abrahamic faiths: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Imagine a single place that holds the most sacred sites for each of these religions. For Jews, it is the city where King David established his kingdom, and where his son Solomon built the first temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. For Christians, it is the stage for the final, most dramatic chapters of Jesus' life: his crucifixion, his burial, and his resurrection. For Muslims, it is the site of Prophet Muhammad's miraculous night journey, where he ascended to the heavens. This convergence of faith makes Jerusalem a powerful magnet for pilgrims, scholars, and believers from every corner of the globe. This city, known in Arabic as Bayt ul-Muqaddas, or the House of the Holy, is a living museum. Its narrow, winding streets are paved with stones that have felt the footsteps of prophets, kings, crusaders, and common folk for centuries. Every corner you turn, every archway you pass under, tells a story. You can hear the echoes of ancient prayers in the wind and feel the devotion of generations in the very air you breathe. It is a place where history is not something you read about in a book. It is something you walk through, touch, and experience with all your senses. The city's story is a long and complicated one, full of moments of incredible beauty and periods of deep sorrow. Understanding Jerusalem is essential to understanding the shared history of a huge portion of humanity. It is a puzzle whose pieces are scattered across different scriptures, different traditions, and different cultures. To see the city is to see how these three great religions grew from the same roots, like branches of a single ancient tree. They share prophets, stories, and a deep, abiding love for this one piece of land. The story of Jerusalem is a reminder that while interpretations and rituals may differ, the fundamental human quest for connection, meaning, and God often leads us to the very same sacred ground. It challenges us to look beyond our differences and see our common heritage. For the Jewish people, the story of Jerusalem begins nearly 3,000 years ago, with a king and a vision. It was King David who first conquered the city from the Jebusites and declared it the capital of his united kingdom. He saw it not just as a political center, but as a spiritual one, a place where the tribes of Israel could come together as one nation under God. David brought the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred object in Judaism, which held the Ten Commandments, to Jerusalem, cementing its status as the holiest city. His dream was to build a permanent, magnificent home for the Ark, a temple dedicated to God. This act transformed Jerusalem from a simple mountaintop fortress into the eternal heart of the Jewish faith. The dream of King David was realized by his son, King Solomon, around the 10th century BCE. Solomon built the first temple, a structure of legendary beauty and importance, on a site now known as the Temple Mount, or Har HaBayit in Hebrew. This was not just a building, it was considered the dwelling place of God's presence on earth. For centuries, it was the focal point of all Jewish worship and pilgrimage. All prayers were directed towards this spot, and the rituals performed here by the priests were central to the faith. The temple stood as a powerful symbol of the covenant between God and the people of Israel, a physical manifestation of their unique relationship and their national identity. Tragically, the first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, a catastrophic event that led to the exile of the Jewish people from their land. A second temple was built on the same site decades later, after their return. This second structure stood for nearly 600 years and was greatly expanded by King Herod, becoming an architectural marvel of the ancient world. It was this temple that Jesus would have known. Its destruction by the Romans in 70 CE was another devastating blow, scattering the Jewish people across the globe in a long and painful diaspora. Yet, even in exile, their connection to Jerusalem never faded. For 2 millennia, they prayed next year in Jerusalem, a vow of hope and return. Today, the holiest accessible site in Judaism is the Western Wall, known as the Kotel. It is a surviving remnant of the retaining wall that once supported the Second Temple's platform. For centuries, Jews have gathered here to pray, to mourn the loss of the Temple, and to connect with the divine presence they believe still resides on the Temple Mount. They tuck small pieces of paper with written prayers into the cracks between the ancient stones, a deeply personal and moving tradition. The wall is a symbol of both profound loss and unbreakable faith, a testament to an enduring 3,000-year-old bond between a people and their sacred city. It stands as a permanent reminder of their history and their hope. For Christians, Jerusalem is the hallowed ground where the central story of their faith reached its dramatic and world-changing conclusion. It is the city where Jesus of Nazareth spent the final week of his life, a period filled with teaching, confrontation, and ultimate sacrifice. The Gospels paint a vivid picture of his time here, his triumphant entry on Palm Sunday, his teaching in the courtyards of the Second Temple, his Last Supper with his disciples, and his agonizing prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. These events are not just historical footnotes. They are the very foundation of Christian belief, and they all unfolded on the sacred soil of Jerusalem. The city is a living testament to the story of God's love and redemption. The most significant sites for Christians are those connected to Jesus' passion, his suffering, and death. The Via Dolorosa, or the Way of Sorrow, marks the traditional path that a condemned Jesus walked, carrying his cross, on the way to his execution. This path winds through the narrow streets of the Old City, and pilgrims from around the world follow its 14 stations, pausing to pray and reflect at each spot where a significant event is said to have occurred. Following this route is a powerful act of devotion, allowing believers to connect in a physical and emotional way with the sacrifice that is at the core of their faith. It makes the story of the Gospels tangible and immediate. The journey along the Via Dolorosa culminates at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the most sacred and revered church in all of Christendom. This ancient, sprawling complex is believed to stand on the very site of Calvary, or Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. Inside its walls, it also contains the tomb, or sepulchre, where his body was laid to rest, and from which Christians believe he was resurrected on the third day. For millions, this is the holiest place on earth. It is a place of profound reverence and overwhelming emotion, where different Christian denominations, each with their own chapels and traditions, share custody of the sacred space, a testament to its universal importance. From the earliest days of the faith, Jerusalem has been the ultimate destination for Christian pilgrimage. Believers have traveled for centuries, often enduring great hardship, to walk where Jesus walked, to pray where he prayed, and to stand at the site of his resurrection. This tradition continues to this day, with countless Christians making the journey to deepen their faith and connect with the historical roots of their religion. Jerusalem is more than just a backdrop to the story of Jesus. For Christians, it is an essential character in that story. It is the city of the cross and the empty tomb, the place where death was conquered and the promise of eternal life was born. In the Islamic tradition, Jerusalem, or Al-Quds, holds a unique and profound spiritual significance. It was the first Qibla, the direction Muslims faced for prayer, before the command came from God to turn towards the Kaaba in Mecca. This early practice establishes a deep and unbreakable link between Jerusalem and the very foundations of Islam. It honors the city as a place of ancient prophecy and connects the message of Prophet Muhammad with the long line of prophets who came before him, such as Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, all of whom are deeply revered in Islam. This shared heritage is a cornerstone of the faith, emphasizing the unity of God's message to humanity through the ages. The city's holiness was forever sealed by one of the most miraculous events in the life of Prophet Muhammad, the Isra and Miraj, or the night journey and ascension. According to the Quran and Islamic tradition, the angel Gabriel took the prophet on a mystical journey in a single night from the sacred mosque in Mecca to the farthest mosque, which Muslims identify as Masjid Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. This journey, the Isra, was a divine honor. From this sacred spot in Jerusalem, the prophet then ascended through the seven heavens, the Miraj, where he spoke with earlier prophets and was brought into the presence of God. This event makes Jerusalem the third holiest city in Islam, after Mecca and Medina. The sacred precinct in Jerusalem is known to Muslims as the Haram al-Sharif, or the Noble Sanctuary. This expansive stone plaza is home to two of the most iconic structures in the Islamic world. One is the Dome of the Rock, a magnificent shrine with a gleaming golden dome built over the rock from which the Prophet is believed to have ascended to heaven. It is not a mosque for congregational prayer, but a shrine commemorating this incredible miracle. The other is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a place of worship with a silver dome, recognized as the farthest mosque mentioned in the Quran. It is a major center for prayer and Islamic scholarship, drawing worshippers from all over the world. For Muslims, Jerusalem is also a powerful symbol of the unity of the prophets. The Quran teaches that God sent messengers to all nations, and many of them have a connection to this holy city. By honoring Jerusalem, Muslims are honoring the entire prophetic tradition that culminates with Prophet Muhammad. It is a testament to the idea that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all spring from the same monotheistic root of Abraham. The city serves as a physical reminder of this shared spiritual lineage. Its importance is not just about a single event, but about its role as a sacred space for a long line of God's messengers, making it a place of deep respect and reverence for all believers. The immense spiritual value placed on Jerusalem by three world religions has sadly made it a focal point of conflict throughout history. Its sacred stones have been soaked in the blood of believers fighting over who should control them. One of the most famous and violent chapters in this struggle was the era of the Crusades. Beginning in the year 1095, Christian armies from Europe launched a series of military campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. In 1099, the First Crusade succeeded in capturing Jerusalem, resulting in a brutal massacre of the city's Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. For nearly a century, Jerusalem was the capital of a Christian kingdom, a period marked by constant warfare and religious tension. The tide turned with the rise of one of the most celebrated figures in Islamic history, Salah al-Din al-Ayyubi, known in the West as Saladin. In 1187, his forces decisively defeated the Crusader army at the Battle of Hattin and recaptured Jerusalem. In stark contrast to the Crusader conquest, Saladin's takeover was remarkably peaceful. He spared the city's Christian inhabitants, allowing them to ransom themselves or leave peacefully, and he invited Jews to return and settle in the city once again. Saladin's act of chivalry and tolerance became legendary, establishing a model of leadership that is still admired today. His conquest restored Muslim control over the Holy City, a control that would last for centuries. Following the era of Saladin and subsequent dynasties, Jerusalem eventually came under the control of the vast and powerful Ottoman Empire in 1517. The Ottomans would rule the city for 400 years, a long period of relative stability. One of the most notable Ottoman rulers, Suleiman the Magnificent, took a special interest in Jerusalem. He commissioned a massive rebuilding project in the 16th century, which included the construction of the magnificent walls that still surround the old city today. These walls, with their grand gates and towers, define the iconic image of Jerusalem that we know. Under Ottoman rule, the city's religious communities were largely allowed to manage their own affairs, maintaining a delicate but enduring peace. This long period of Ottoman dominance shaped the city's character and demographics. Different religious communities, Muslims, Christians of various denominations, and Jews, lived in their designated quarters within the old city walls, creating a vibrant mosaic of cultures and traditions. While not a period of perfect harmony, it was a time when the shared existence of the three faiths became an established fact of life in Jerusalem. The empire's eventual decline and collapse during World War I, however, would throw the future of the city into question and set the stage for the new and even more complex conflicts of the 20th century, as new powers vied for control of this sacred land. The end of 4 centuries of Ottoman rule after World War I marked the beginning of a new and turbulent era for Jerusalem. The city, along with the rest of Palestine, was placed under the control of the British Empire in what was known as the British Mandate. This period was characterized by rising tensions between the Arab population and the growing number of Jewish immigrants who were arriving, inspired by the Zionist movement to establish a national home. The British struggled to manage the conflicting aspirations of both groups, and their policies often deepened the divisions. Jerusalem became the administrative and emotional center of this escalating conflict, with both sides viewing it as their rightful capital. The conflict reached a breaking point in 1948 with the end of the British Mandate and the declaration of the State of Israel. The ensuing war, known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, resulted in the division of Jerusalem for the first time in its long history. The western part of the city became part of the new State of Israel, while the eastern part, including the historic Old City with all its holy sites, came under the control of Jordan. Barbed wire and concrete walls, known as the city line, split families and neighborhoods. For the next 19 years, Jews were denied access to their holiest sites, including the Western Wall, and the city remained a potent symbol of the unresolved Arab-Israeli conflict. This division came to an abrupt end during the Six-Day War in 1967. In a swift military campaign, Israeli forces captured East Jerusalem from Jordan and reunified the city under Israeli control. The barriers that had divided the city were torn down, and for the first time in nearly 2 decades, Jews could once again access the Western Wall and the Temple Mount. Israel declared the reunified Jerusalem its eternal and undivided capital. However, this act was not recognized by most of the international community, and Palestinians continue to see East Jerusalem as the capital of their future state. The reunification of the city thus created a new and deeply entrenched political reality. Today, the status of Jerusalem remains one of the most sensitive and difficult issues in the ongoing conflict. The city is a vibrant modern metropolis, but it is also a place of deep political and religious friction. The rights to property, access to holy sites, and questions of national sovereignty are sources of daily tension and occasional violence. While officially under Israeli control, the city's identity is fiercely contested. It is a city of 2 peoples and 3 faiths, all living side by side, yet often in separate worlds. Its modern story is a story of a city physically united but spiritually and politically still deeply divided, awaiting a lasting and just peace. Jerusalem is a city of powerful parallels. It is a place where 3 faiths look to the heavens from the same small piece of earth. For Jews, it is the city of David and the site of the temple, the axis around which their entire history revolves. For Christians, it is the city of the cross and the empty tomb, the stage for salvation. For Muslims, it is the blessed land of the night journey, a place of ascension and prophetic unity. Each faith sees Jerusalem as a unique reflection of its own truth, yet all see it as a place where God has touched the world. The stones of the city cry out with the prayers of Abraham's children, whether they call themselves Jews, Christians, or Muslims. The long and often troubled history of Jerusalem serves as a profound lesson for humanity. It shows us the heights of faith and devotion people are capable of, expressed in magnificent temples, churches, and mosques. It also shows us the depths of conflict that can arise when love for a sacred place turns into a desire for exclusive ownership. The city has been built and destroyed, conquered and liberated, united and divided, time and time again. Its story is a mirror reflecting our greatest aspirations for connection with the divine and our most tragic failures to connect with one another. It challenges us to ask if a place so holy to so many can ever truly be at peace. The path to a peaceful future for Jerusalem lies not in erasing its complex identity, but in embracing it. It requires a difficult but necessary shift from a mindset of ownership to one of guardianship. Jews, Christians, and Muslims are not rival claimants to a piece of property. They are co-custodians of a shared sacred trust. True peace will come when every person who holds Jerusalem dear feels safe, respected, and free to practice their faith without fear. It demands a solution that honors the deep historical and spiritual connections of all 3 religions, recognizing that the city's holiness is magnified, not diminished, by the devotion of so many. Ultimately, Jerusalem must become what its name has long promised, a city of peace. Its future should not be one of walls and checkpoints, but of open gates and open hearts. It has the potential to be a beacon for the world, a living example of how different faiths can coexist with mutual respect and understanding. The hope for Jerusalem is the hope for humanity itself, that we can look past our divisions, honor our shared heritage, and learn to live together on the small sacred ground we all call home. The prayers of billions echo through its ancient streets, all hoping for a day when peace reigns in the city of God.